Hey everybody, I hope you're having a lovely day today. In today's video, we're going to be talking about AI artwork. And before you stop the video, just try to hear me out on how using AI as a tool for making your artwork could be incredibly helpful. So, we're going to get into how I use AI and which AI processing tools I use to create my artwork, how you can translate the work that you currently make into AI into many different ways, and then how your AI work can then kind of circle back and inspire the work that you make by hand. So, the AI tools that I use first started off with Dolly 2, which gives you a little bit more of like a lo fi experimental output. And then more recently, I've been living in the world of Midjourney, which gives me really surreal slash realistic outputs, which is exactly what I was looking for. And when I started to make my work as I really pulled back into my sketchbooks and into my older ideas, trying to figure out something that I wanted to make, but I couldn't physically make with my own hands. So instead of replicating my paintings or my drawings, I wanted to pull back from my studies of sculpture in college, creating things that were abstract and free flowing and floating. And to be able to do that physically was really hard. I work from home. Sculpting physically in a large sense, especially if you're installing it in nature, can be really expensive and prohibitive just because you want to also make sure that the nature around the sculpture is not being impacted by the sculpture itself. So I had some old sketches of sculptures that I wanted to make, sculptures that I did make in college when I did have the space to do so, and pairing with my photography of different national parks, I started to kind of pull all of those things together into Midjourney to make really beautiful, surreal sculptures that looked like my paintings, but in a 3D form. And that's really the sweet spot for me for AI right now is using Midjourney, prompting it with writing of what I'm envisioning, and then using those outputs. In the future, I think it could be really interesting to train a specific AI on all of my previous paintings. So as I grow older and painting physically grows more difficult, I can still create artwork with that assistant and with that tool that I otherwise probably wouldn't be able to, which is pretty exciting. So, my advice for you in your work as you're starting to play with AI as a tool is to just have fun. Put in different ideas. The outputs are probably going to be hideous, especially at first, and just play, just like you would play with paint or play with clay or play with a pencil. Definitely go into using AI as another tool, like if you were to learn Photoshop or Illustrator or learn how to do 3D vectors or learn how to animate, go in with the knowledge that you have no idea what you're doing and you have no idea what you're going to get. And that's the exciting part. Just like any other type of process that you've had thus far in your art career, go in with that open, playful mind, and you'll be really surprised with what you end up getting at the end. And the most surprising thing for me about AI has been how it's found its way back into my physical work. So, when I was making these abstract sculptures, I was really inspired by, here's a work in progress, some of my paintings, whether they were gradient or if they were more of my flat forms, and seeing how those lived in 3 dimensions in these different national parks that I've been to. I was recently in a vintage store and found a bunch of postcards of different national monuments and different national parks, and then started to paint the forms that were inspired by my paintings and inspired by my AI back onto physical postcards. So, again, treating AI like a tool for discovery about more about yourself can lead to you being inspired by the work that you make and then putting it back into a new physical form. So I know that AI can sometimes be really scary, especially because it is a new tool and we're still kind of in its elementary phase, especially from prompt to visual. But if you go into it with an open mind and using it as experimentation and play, you might eventually get something where you can bring it back into your physical practice and take it from there. So, for those of you curious about AI and not really knowing where to start, I definitely recommend Dolly 2 or Midjourney. They're pretty accessible price points to kind of get started from prompt to image. And just be open minded. You never know what you'll get. Sometimes you might get a lot of things that are ugly and it might not be for you, but just like experimenting with any other type of tool, going into it with an open mind may surprise you.